Okay. I just want that be serious because it's your class 10th. Okay. This is your second period or third period of today?
On third.
Ma'am,
Third.
third.
And the last one?
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay, you got four. Okay, you were telling. Okay, fine. So we have done with the first chapter, but we have two poems in this unit left. And the first one is Dust of Snow. Now, we all have read a lot of poems about Robert Frost, isn't it? And previously, also in our NCRT books, we had lots and lots of poems of him. Usually, one more poem was there last year. Can you name it? That was also, I think, the first.
The road not
Yes,
taken.
The Road Not Taken. That's one of his most famous poems. Because whenever you're in confusion and you have two ways to go, we always remember this poem. And it's always there in back of our mind ki if we had taken that one, then what? Isn't it? In life also you see so many times it happens that हम एक decision ले लेते हैं मगर अगर दूसरा एक option होता है तो हमारे दिमाग में वो भी घूम रहा होता है कि oh, if we had taken then what? I think you people also are coming to that uh, state of life now. And late when you come in class 12th, it's always in confusion that whether to do this or this college or that college, this course or that course, isn't it? So it's quite confusing. But remember one thing, whatever decision you take, it said that don't look back. जो ले लिया वो ले लिया, अब उसी में आगे बढ़ो. Be strong enough to have trust over your decision. And God does give you signals and intuitions. You'll have intuitions that this is the right one. You have to catch those signals in life. Okay? And so, okay, we can start with the poem. And I just want you to tell you a brief thing about this thing. Has anyone read this poem? Anyone? It's a very small one. Hard. Okay. Have you read it, Trobisha? What did you collect from this poem? What could you gather? What do you think it signifies?
Oh, change in mood.
Yes, a change in mood. Yeah, that is what the poet wants to tell. Basically, it wants to tell that we should, every moment of life is important. It signifies that every moment in life is special. We can make it special. Every simple moment of it has a significance in life. It depends on how you perceive things, how you see things. And there are two main things in this poem. One is the crow, and other is what? Two things.
The branch of tree.
Yes, the tree, the hemlock tree. Okay. The hemlock tree is a poisonous tree. And both the things here signify that he is in a very depressive and sorrowful mood. That means his mood is not good. He's not, sometimes you just feel for no reason also you are not feeling good. It happens with us also. बस ऐसे ही नहीं अच्छा लग रहा. So same is with the is that when he says that these two things, usually we do connect the crow with the negative this one. So he also feels that his mood is not good, and this tree also is the poisonous one. And what happens when the crow comes and sits on the branch of the tree, the snow that has been settled over there, obviously you know that when a bird or something comes and sits over there, the branches are shaken, and snow is such a light thing, it shakes off and falls down. At that moment, his mood is changed. And the snow here shows that how the mood of the poet changes. Then he realizes that how he's wasted the time. The time that has gone by, he's simply wasted it, thinking of being in a depressive mood and sorrowful mood. And after that, he takes a turn and he realizes that though now he's wasted it, his spirit is revived when he's ready to utilize the day. And he's saying, okay, what is left in the day, I'm going to utilize that. Okay, He says that now this is the time that he's going to use it in a very in some useful activity, whatever is left of the day. Okay, here you can see the summary also of this poem. And what I wanted you to see is, one second, I have to take the tab now. One second. Today someone has come who was not there yesterday. Ansh is there? Today also Ansh is not there. Okay, fine. I wanted you to see this one.
Dear friends, welcome to EME, English Made Easy.
Is it audible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay.
Here, a channel just for you. Today I've taken up the poem Dust of Snow written by Robert Frost from First Flight of Class 10th. Before I begin, take my advice. Pick up a pencil in your hand, open your book First Flight to page number 14, where you will find the poem Dust of Snow written by Robert Frost. Keep marking the lines and making notes as and when required because it will help you to a great deal when you will be revising the poem on your own. This poem has been written by Robert Frost. It's a two stanza poem wherein the poet has used his imaginative powers and conveyed a deep message to the readers. The first four lines of the poem go like this: The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree. The poet wants to say that all of a sudden a crow comes from nowhere and sits on a hemlock tree. The hemlock tree is associated with sadness because it is a poisonous tree which bears white flowers. The crow happens to sit on this hemlock tree, and the crow is also associated with evilness and bad omen. Because of the sitting of the crow on the hemlock tree, some movement was made, and that movement caused snow to fall on the poet who was standing under the tree. This is what the four lines actually mean. Now I'll talk about the literary devices used in these four lines. The first one is rhyme scheme that's used here in these four lines. You'll see the first and the third line, the last words are crow and snow. They rhyme with each other. And the second and the fourth line, the last words are me and tree. They rhyme with each other. So the rhyme scheme of these four lines is A B A B. The second literary device used here is enjambment. Enjambment is when one line continues into the other line without making a complete sense. So you'll see here that all the four lines are interlinked with each other and there's no comma or full stop in between. So this kind of literary device is known as enjambment. Now look at the third literary device which is used here. It is assonance. Assonance means repetition of vowel sound in the closely connected words. For example, take this line, shook down on me. So you'll see here, shook down on me, there is a repetition of O sound. So the vowel sound O is being repeated. That is why this is an example of assonance. So the literary device used here is assonance. Now let's move to the next stanza, which again consists of just four lines, and it says, has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. Right? So rude here is the feeling of regret and feeling remorseful. These lines express that falling of fine dust of snow brings sudden change into the mood of the poet. The poet's mood brightens up all of a sudden. The poet had by now given up all the hopes as his day had not been very good for him. But now, as the snow falls on him from above the hemlock tree, Due to the movement of the crow, his mood is transformed. So, from feeling remorseful, he now starts feeling cheerful. Realizes that the whole day is not yet over. There is still a part of the day left, and that can be redeemed as his depressed spirits are now cheered up. Fine. So here you would see in this poem that the poet was talking about two negative elements at the beginning. That is the hemlock tree and the crow. Both being negative happened to transform and convey something positive to the poet. The poet who was feeling very depressed automatically happens to feel happy. Now I'll talk about the literary devices that are used in these four lines, right? So the first line you'd see the last word of the fifth line, okay? That is heart, and the seventh line is part. So heart and part are rhyming together. Similarly, the sixth line last word is mood, and eighth line last word is rude, right? So both again are rhyming together. So, what is the rhyme scheme of this these four lines? Yes, they are C D C D. Okay. Now come up to the second literary device that is used over here, and that is again enjambment. As it was in the first stanza, you see here also one line is continuing into the other line. So this is enjambment. Now let's talk about the third literary device used here, and that is alliteration, which is used in the seventh line. If you see the words saved and some, saved some, so the sound of S is being repeated. So this is an example of alliteration. Now comes the last literary device, and it is consonants. What is it? Consonants. Just like assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds, consonants is the repetition of consonant sounds in the closely connected words. The sound may come at the beginning of the word, at the end of the word, in the middle of the word, but there is the repetition of the sound. Okay. So see here in the last line, it says, of a day I had rued. So the word D sound is being repeated. So the D sound is being repeated. D is a consonant sound. So that is why it is known as consonants, right? Now I'll talk about the message that Robert Frost has given through this poem, and this message is quite positive. Depression and hopelessness do come in our hearts and spirits and moods at times. But we actually need to remember one thing, that every cloud has a silver lining. Earlier, the poet was feeling very sad. He had given up all the hopes and he had declared that the whole day would go waste. But suddenly, the falling of fine dust of snow brings a sudden change in his mood. The feeling of regret transformed into cheerfulness. He realizes that all is not lost. Now his spirits are no more depressed. The sudden change outside cheers his heart and mood. So you see, the negative things around us cannot impact us if we are positive. Similarly, the poet was affected by two negative things, but he took the positivity of the snow and changed his mood from remorsefulness to cheerfulness. This is how we need to deal in our lives. With this, I come to the end of the poem. Hope you were able to understand the poem. Do write to me in the comment section as to how was the explanation. You can also write about any topic you want me to take up in the next video. Till then, stay positive.
Okay, so I have another video actually. One second. Now, what is visible on the screen? The same thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. For a new tab, I have to again open.
Ma'am,
Yes, Peter?
ma'am, what is the meaning of the phrase this that every cloud has a silver lines? Yeah.
This you must have heard this many times, especially from Mini Ma'am, I think, isn't it? Every cloud has a silver lining. if you see the clouds carefully, it's just this one, how you look at things again, I'm telling you. आप अगर ध्यान से देखो क्लाउड को, आपको क्या लगता है आउटलाइन में एक सिल्वर लाइन है? A cloud
Yes.
is a cloud is connected with actually that is also connected with sadness. Usually clouds get dark, isn't it? डार्क होते हैं तभी रेन होती है. तो जो डार्क होती है उसके बाद जो कहते हैं उसके पीछे हो सकता है वो बिकॉज द सनलाइट इज फॉलोइंग ऑन इट देयर इज अ लाइनिंग टुवर्ड्स इट. तो कहते हैं हमेशा याद रखो हर बुराई के पीछे एक अच्छाई है. समथिंग गुड इज गोइंग टू हैपन. So we should not get depressed in times like now what is going on, isn't it? Like ho sakta hai because this is a wake up call. Again and again I'm telling you that is someone had sent this post on my school group and they were telling that see what is happening and मतलब obviously हम लोग बुरा ही बोलते हैं कि चाइना ने ऐसे कर दिया है this and that, but you should understand it's not only China, it is basically us humans who have destroyed the beautiful creation of God, that is nature. This was a wake up call for us. And if you see around you, abhi bhi log nahi badle. Many have done it. They have come out of the adversity. And as I at that day also I mentioned that some people are from the waste that we are throwing. In today's, you see so many sanitizer bottles, वो भी plastic है. You have mask and all उसको फेंक रहे हैं बिना सोचे समझे. It goes and gets stuck in the beaks of birds and they get suffocated and they die. तो we should see हमको क्या हक है कि हम दूसरे की जान लें, या we don't have the right to hurt anyone. This is the thing that we are learning from it, because there was no other way probably हम समझ पाते. वो होता है ना डंडा पड़ता है तभी हम समझते हैं. So this actually we should see that I know it's very bad around us, it's very depressing, but you see that the positive thing we should say is we are going to come out of it. It will finish, and whatever will happen after that, the decisions, the huge decisions all the countries are going to take is going to impact Earth. Then it's high time we start respecting our Earth, and it's not only our Earth. जो हमें लगता है ना कि हम we are the rulers. जितना animals और हमारा है उतना ही animals और birds का भी है. Okay, so this is the silver lining. Like I would connect that something is there behind अच्छा होएगा. Darkness के पीछे there is brightness also. Okay. This was the one we did just now.
Ma'am, your screen is not visible.
Okay. 1 second. One second. Now it's visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
One second, again something wrong I've done. Now is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it visible, Ramesh? Am I audible?
यस मैम, कोई अजीब सी आवाज आई थी.
Okay. Actually, I did not get an answer. 1 second, I'll just share again. Now, is it visible, my screen?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Harish, any idea when I come back to the meet and then go back to this video, will it be visible to all of you?
Probably
Now,
not, because
now
you
is
will
it
have to
visible?
share. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I did. I just tried once to switch, come back to the meet and then the video. But now you're telling it's visible. Okay, fine. Here it is. And this is also a nice explanation. Though it seems to be a very small poem, but the meaning is
of
very.
snow.
And I would request all of you, please note down the sentences which you like.
Hello and welcome everyone. Don't you think poems like these grow on you with time?
Robert Frost does that with his poems, with almost all of them. He could be talking about the traffic or the weather and still manage to hide 100 metaphors and 100 miracles of meanings.
Oh yes. That's why we have so many of his poems in our curriculum. Big ideas don't need big words. And that's why, as an exception, today we are going to start by talking a little about the poet himself. Robert Lee Frost, March 26, 1874 to January 29, 1963, was an American poet who was virtually unknown for the first 40 years of his life. He exploded on the scene after returning from England at the beginning of World War I. His work frequently employed settings from rural life in New England in the early 20th century, using them to examine complex social and philosophical themes. One of the most popular and critically respected American poets of the 20th century, Frost was honored frequently during his lifetime, receiving 4 Pulitzer Prizes for poetry and admiration of the American President John F. Kennedy. He became one of America's rare public literary figures, almost an artistic institution, and the unofficial poet laureate of the United States. Rural life is a consistent theme in Robert's poetry, as is simplistic language that is pleasing to the ear. He felt strongly that poetry was best appreciated when read aloud. Dust of Snow was published in the 1923 poetry collection New Hampshire, which won a Pulitzer Prize. It was one of the shortest poems in the collection and has one single sentence.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct.
The poem was originally titled Favor in 1920, later renamed as Snow Dust in 1921, and finally Dust of Snow in.
If you want me to pause anywhere that you're noting out down something, I'll pause. Do you want from where this poem was taken? It was a collection of this. You can note it down. Because when you write answers, such things are very good actually. It shows that how in detail you have researched about this poem. I hope you're noting it down. Are you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
In 1923. It was set to music by Elliott Carter in one of his most famous musical compositions.
Thank you. Let me take up the explanation now. The title informs us that it's the middle of the winter season. Winters are long and hard in northern countries and often associated with gloom. The speaker is standing beneath a hemlock tree. The poisonous hemlock is actually a herb, not a proper tree. The tree hemlock is a common, non-poisonous coniferous tree shown here. As often happens with Robert Frost's poems, people arrive at some really awkward and incorrect conclusions. In this poem's case, it is often assumed that the speaker in the poem went to the hemlock tree to commit suicide. But that is very much incorrect. So it was just a random tree in the speaker's way and he happened to stop under it for a moment. The way a crow. A crow is common, unattractive, and black. Its choice as an agent of change is surprising. But here it is. The crow shook down on me. The crow, of course, didn't shake it down with intentions to help anyone. It was just going about its usual ways. It's not how or why it happened, but what it led to. The dust of snow. There are thick layers of snow on the tree, and the crow's landing unsettles it, and some particles fall down on the speaker from a hemlock tree. As already explained, the hemlock tree is not poisonous, but it may be a symbol of something perceived as dangerous, even if wrongly. Has given my heart a change of mood. The way it happens reaches straight to the speaker's heart. He was lost deep in thoughts, probably some worry or regret, and paralyzed by his own thoughts. Then suddenly, the fresh, cold touch of snow on his head, his face, his neck, and maybe his palms suddenly wakes him up to the present moment. The white, serene surroundings full of nature's beauty and majesty. And it gives him the change he desperately needed. All he needed was a little break from his mental paralysis. And he gets that, thanks to this random act of unintended kindness by a crow. And saved some part. Not all of it. So this was not a life-changing miracle, but still a very much needed break. A welcome relief that gave him just enough strength to save some part of a day I had rued. He was just having a bad day, nothing uncommon. A bad day doesn't mean a bad life. So we have to be careful to not blow things out of proportion. If it was his whole life he had rued, then the falling dust of snow wouldn't have been able to bring him out. He would have dismissed it instantly. It was only because he kept the rowing in limits that he could benefit from the little incident. It doesn't take something or someone beautiful to do something beautiful. It doesn't need helpful intentions to do something helpful. The little things in life, all around us, are their own miracles and their own mires. It's all a matter of perception, awareness, and readiness within us. Do not get stuck in a single hope or memory. Accept the dynamic nature of life and keep moving on.
Thank you. Let me take up the analysis now. Let's discuss the characters first. The narrator. He had a bad day, but he is not a pessimist. He is in a gloomy mood, but capable of being brought out of it with some help. He is momentarily paralyzed by his thoughts while standing under the tree, trying to make sense of things. But the touch of snow suddenly brings him back to life, and in that little instant, he finds reason and courage enough to let go and move on. He decides to save whatever is left of the day that had already been wasted by negativity. He has rare inner strength and sense of awareness that saves him from getting stuck in the pit of pessimism. He is a fighter at ease with life's changeability. The crow. The common ugly crow gives the narrator a much-needed break from his own disturbing thoughts and saves his day. The narrator rules the day, but thanks to the crow only partially, not completely. The crow is kind of an unlikely angel, and a reminder that hope and salvation are not offices of beauty. Anything and anyone can bring you that, if you let them. The Hemlock Tree. The hemlock tree stands for the misunderstood, ignored support sources of our everyday life. The very name hemlock brings to our mind death and end. That's the common opinion, the tradition, in reality a prejudice. Nothing by itself is good or evil. It's how much you allow it that defines its possibilities. The narrator allowed a scavenger bird, the crow, and the poison synonym, the hemlock, to give him a wonderful, refreshing experience, and that is as much to the credit of the narrator as to the nature and its forces. Now let's discuss the major themes and lessons. Nature. The amazing power of nature to rejuvenate us is beautifully brought forth in the poem. Life itself can often be such a distraction from truly living that we forget to enjoy our limited time in the world. In the middle of our artificial anxieties and obligations, forces of nature make us pause and ponder and help us in getting our priorities right. So remember to appreciate the little joys of life. Anomalies. The examples of a crow and hemlock tree doing something nice for a human being remind us that the world and our lives are full of anomalies, things which defy their repetitions. Not everything beautiful will be worthy of admiration. Conversely, not everything unattractive will be worthless.
See, this is a very nice sentence if you listen carefully. Everything that beautiful is not something to be admired. We humans usually go by external beauty, as we think that everything that's beautiful externally is also beautiful internally. Rather, you must have seen people who are not so good looking, and they have not been gifted by God, I would say, with beautiful looks, but I have got an extremely beautiful heart, isn't it? So this is how the same. Listen to the words very carefully. I found this very interesting. That is why I wanted you to listen to this.
Ma'am,
So,
what is
don't
anomaly?
go by appearances and reputations.
Anomaly. Now let's check this. Full of, I think,
Ma'am,
yes, yes, yes.
ma'am, can you send this video on a WhatsApp group?
Yes, yes, sure, sure. I'll send it. Again, if in case I forget, sister, you remind me on my personal list.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone who found out the meaning of this? Anomaly.
Abnormal.
One second. It's actually something, yes, abnormal, peculiar. Not actually, you should go by one word. Read all the words and just think what is suitable over here. Something different which we consider abnormal. That is what our nature is. Now, what is abnormal, we think that, oh, and why don't we accept it? You know why? Because we think we have, if you see something, हम लोगों ने अपने ही standards बनाए हुए हैं कि ये सही है, ये गलत है. जबकि who says this is normal and that is abnormal? Everything is okay. You people are young children. ये मैं बहुत बड़ी बात बोल रही हूँ. हमने अपने even in social science we have this myths and beliefs जो बचपन से हमने, because our upbringing in such a way होती है कि हम लोग एक धारणा जिसको कहते हैं ना, we make an image of everything and maybe of different persons also. If so and so, like previously what I just share this thing with you. When I was of your age, we used to watch this pop songs and all. तब नया नया western music भी सुनते थे. And what used to happen is this thing of because that time Michael Jackson was very in, and these people used to dress up in a particular way, having earrings, and that time only boys started wearing earrings. Western, I'm talking about Western culture. It hadn't come in India. But what I used to think, मतलब जो हमने, क्योंकि हमको ओ इसने ऐसे पहना है तो ये he is of not a good character. मतलब हम लोग सोच लेते थे if the person has a particular hairstyle or is, and such people are called punks, and they have this tattoos in their hands and their bodies. तो हमको डर लगता था देख के इनको कि ओ ये तो ऐसे होते हैं, ये वैसे होते हैं. बट इट्स नथिंग ऑफ दैट सॉर्ट. ये हमने एक इमेज बना ली है. वी हैव स्टार्टेड थिंकिंग दैट सो एन पर्सन इज गेटिंग ड्रेस्ड अप इन सच ए वे, सो दिस पर्सन इज ऑफ दिस कैरेक्टर और ऑफ दिस नेचर. to know the nature of a person, to get to know, even you people know कि आपके भी like you have friends right from childhood, and कभी कभी आपको बड़े होके इस एज में समझ आता है कि नहीं ये उतनी अच्छी नहीं है जितनी हमको पहले मैं उसको समझती. When you get to know the person, you get closer to the person, then only you come to know the nature of the person. So how can I judge a person just by the dress up? This is now when I'm with my daughter, when she scolds me, "Mummy, ye galat hai. Don't give this comment." We have no right to comment over this person of the dressing or that anything. Okay, so this is what I was telling, that anything abnormal and something which is not classified, मतलब हमने उसको classify नहीं किया, उसको हम that is the meaning of it. Okay, and the second one is diversion from the common rule. That's what diversion मतलब जो हमने rule set किया उससे अगर अलग हो गया, irregularity. Okay, I have got a few minutes. Let's complete this.
Dynamism. The narrator's ability to be positively influenced by dust of snow reminds us of the importance of embracing life as it comes our way. Do not dwell on past, neither rely too much on the future. To be in full control of life, we need to be fully aware of it in each and every moment. So, instead of fearing it, welcome change and keep moving on, taking the ups and downs in a stride.
So this it was, and tomorrow what we'll do is tomorrow you have a holiday. Next time we'll finish off with the second poem of this unit. Okay. Anything else you want to ask?
Ma'am, we